We have a predicament. Interest rates are so artificially low and the Fed knows it. The government knows it. My grandmother knows it. But the Fed also knows that if they raise rates, everything will collapse. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we're going to look at this issue as well as several others. Let's begin. Approximately $2.8 trillion of consumer loans outstanding are floating rate. This is dangerous. We calculate that for every 25 basis point, that's 0.25%, interest rate hike by the Fed, that's going to increase interest expenses higher by $7 billion annually for these consumers. So take the American consumer at the absolute most debt they have ever been in. And you add on top of that more interest. You're going to crush them. And that's a matter of fact. And you look at interest rates being historically the lowest they have ever been. They've been working so hard at this snail's pace since December 2015 to increase interest rates. And they've been doing it at the absolute slowest possible speed that they can get at. And here we are today, still, historically, basically right at the bottom. 2 years to get to this point. So I don't know how long it's going to take to get even further along. They're claiming that they're going ahead and doing this all as planned, but it always seems to be slower than it is, and this is when the economy is supposedly doing extremely well. So what if things start to slow down? How are they going to react? When the Fed began to hike interest rates, the Fed's funds rate and other interest rate to which consumer debt is frequently indexed are about 125 basis points higher. Thus, on an annual basis, the additional cost of borrowing is approximately $35 billion. Now, looking forward, if the Fed raises rates 3 times in 2018, which they claim, the annual interest expense will increase by another $21 billion to bring the total of $56 billion per year. People can't afford this. They are in the most debt they've ever been, and you're about to pile on more. They can't survive this, the average person. Think about all of these different instruments that are interconnected to interest rates. You know, whether we have credit cards or it's mortgages or anything else, that's going to go up. When you have this floating rate, you are going to be a victim should interest rates rise. Now, if interest rates go down, you're laughing. You're happy. Interest rates rise, you're not doing so good. So, think about where interest rates are now for the housing market. You have incredibly low mortgage rates historically. These have been rising to some degree for sure over the past couple of years. Now, if they do raise rates 3 times in 2018, as they suggest, by the end of the year, the Fed funds rate is going to be somewhere around 2%, okay? That's the Fed funds rate. Then interconnect that with mortgage rates. They're going to be at the very least 4%, potentially even 5%, depending on the terms of that mortgage and everything else. People cannot afford that. It's too high for a lot of people. What are they going to do? Well, they're going to be in big trouble. You have these different variable rate mortgages, adjustable rate mortgages, all the different terms that they use, and it is not favorable for people who are in maximum levels of debt. You see some central banks around the world inching up, and trying to do it so slowly to be able to test the market, see how it's doing, test the waters. Is it too cold? Is it too hot? What do we do? And they have been truly stagnant on their increasing of the interest rates. They're always too slow, and they're always doing it in such minuscule amounts that it's practically insignificant. 2 years to get to where we are today. All right, now this chart down below, I'll show you it in full just a moment here. Looking at this, I just quickly wanted to show you the percentage rate of the Fed funds and the LIBOR. The LIBOR is so ultimately fake. We know that it was being fixed. They did have to admit that. So I didn't want to really get into it, but I just wanted to show you that recently these have been definitely increasing. Social Security beneficiaries hit a record 61 million. We're talking about people that require this to live. And that's not good or bad. I'm simply just pointing it out. And this has been increasing as time goes on. I mean, you have the baby boomers who are cashing in on their Social Security. They're able to get that. Obviously, they're going to take the paycheck. They're going to use it. And as a result, that puts a bigger burden on those putting in money into the system today. This is a travesty that will occur at some point. I mean, there's no possible way that the government can afford this. There's not a lot of people who are willing to admit that. However, just look at the math. It's pretty simple. The US government has made a lot of promises, and they simply cannot really fulfill those promises. It's really sad because a lot of people are going to rely on it. They're going to get screwed over as a result. I just want to see the government come out and admit that they can't pay back. That would be really, really good to hear. All right, now this is the article in relation to that, and I just noted this thing here. All right. Unemployment rate is at the lowest it's ever been since 2000. That's 4.1%. There are 127 million full-time workers in the United States. Yet, that equaled only 2 full-time workers for each person receiving Social Security benefits. And very, very quickly, those two numbers are going to collide. It's becoming a very big burden on those currently putting money into the system, and it's not a one-for-one deal. You put money into that system, you put $1 in, you don't get $1 back, right? You put $1 in, maybe you get 20 cents back because it has to go through the bureaucracy, the red tape, and everything else. By the time it makes it out, it's a quarter if you're lucky. So this is a very serious issue that just doesn't get discussed because it's going to incite violence. All right, now this is the information. I always like to include the actual document if I can. This right here is directly from the BLS.gov if you want to see it for yourself. And that's just the information from the previous charts I just showed you. Then on the other end of the spectrum, you have those who have made literally $1 trillion in 2017 alone. That's the world's richest, increasing their wealth by $1 trillion in this 1 year, in 2017. So there are some people who are sleeping on the streets tonight and other people who are making $1 trillion. Why? Is it because they have successful businesses? Is it because they have some special talent? Is it because of some sort of phenomenon that occurred in nature? Well, I'll tell you something. There are different reasons for this, but ultimately we know that they are able to use government as a tool. That's what corporations do, and that's really the purpose of government, is to be there so that corporations can use it as a tool to manipulate it, to lobby it, and to use it to their advantage. And this is what's been going on for many, many years, long before you and I were born, that's for sure. So we see this happening, $1 trillion. We see the bailouts that occur with these companies. We see the favorable taxation. We see the fact that they're inside and out of all of these governments. We see them going in, lobbying each and every level of government, and they do so consistently. And guess what? They get more money, you and I get less. That's the way it is, and that's the way it will always be. Asia's alpha, Chinese fortunes outpaced their peers in 2017. And this was something to think about here because you can see that the growth clearly is coming from China. There's a lot of billionaires appearing in China much faster than other places in the world. So keep your eyes peeled. That's all for this video. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. I went all over the map today. I thought it would be very interesting for you. I know that based on the polls that I've seen from you, and thank you very much for voting on those polls, that if it's informative to you, you want to hear about it. It doesn't matter if it's alphabetical, it doesn't matter if it's about one country or another. Just give me information, condense it into the shortest as possible, and bring me some videos, okay? That's what I try to do. I hope you do appreciate it. If you do, please give me a thumbs up, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel. We are nearing 80,000 subscribers here, and I want this thing to grow, and I want you to be a part of that growth. This isn't about me, this guru up here standing in the throne wearing $1 million hat and telling you what to do. This is, crowdsourced. This is information that is based on all of you, on everything I've read in the past, on all the information I show you today. I bring it together, bring in the videos. So it is very important that you are sharing your information with me and with other people on this channel. That's all for this. If you found the video informative, I know you'll find my books, The Money GPS, and my new release, Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. Their links are in the description below. Take care.